Okay, I've started recording. I'll probably just edit this front part out. So
Okay.
whenever you want to start.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Tucson-Pima County Historical Commission Plans Review Subcommittee meeting of Thursday, May 14th, 2026, called to order at 1 p.m. And I'll go ahead and call roll. Terry Majewski is here. Andrew Christopher.
Here.
Blake Houghton.
Here.
Joel Ireland is no longer on the subcommittee. And Savannah McDonald.
Here.
So we have a quorum of 4. Okay, item 2 is review and approval of the 4/23/2026 legal action report / minutes. Could I have a motion to approve as submitted, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Who will second? I'm sorry, Andrew? Is that you?
This is Blake.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion? Okay, if not, I'll go ahead and call roll. Terry votes aye. Andrew?
Aye.
Blake?
Aye.
Savannah?
Aye.
Great, it passes unanimously 4-0. Item 3 is summary of public comments. I think if it's okay with everyone and Desiree, if we just reference those at the beginning of that particular review case, and we have them for 5A and 5B, is that correct?
Yes, and that works for me.
All right, thank you. All right, so we'll move on to item 4 then, which is historic preservation zone review cases. We review those under UDC section 5.8/TSM 9-02.0/historic district design guidelines and the revised Secretary of the Interior standards and guidelines. The first case, 4A, is SD 0226-0030/TC-RES-1225-05979. This is at 217 East 17th Street. So Desiree, is Jason here? Oh, hey, Jason.
Yep, I'm right here, Terry.
Okay, if you'd like to go ahead and introduce the case.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
So this is a proposed project, 405 square foot accessory dwelling unit. It will have a maximum ridge height of 13 feet with a decorative parapet with single slope galvanized metal roof. It will be built with insulated concrete foam blocks clad in sand flooded plaster in an unpigmented white Portland cement with natural sand. A new 6-foot corrugated metal fence is proposed on the north property line and along the eastern alley side. A 6-foot wall constructed of Mikey block and clad in lime plaster matching the materials of the AD will extend 24 feet south from the north property line to a gated entry. There is proposed demolition of a rear addition and restoration of the rear porch. The restored rear porch to feature a wood door with 3 horizontal recessed panels and glass pane at the top, a 6-inch by 6-inch rounded porch post, a wooden floor atop a concrete base, and wood over concrete steps. A new fascia board to match existing, as well as roof and eaves to match existing. The original brick walls on the north and east sides enclosed by the addition to be preserved. This went through 2 rounds of review by the Armory Park. At the March 17th meeting, there's a recommendation for a continuance with the following comments. 1, explore what historic fabric remains at the rear addition of the existing home to provide the basis for the board to make a recommendation for the demolition of a contributing element of a contributing structure. 2, provide more information regarding the proposed replacement of the demolished rear addition, new fence, and proposed setbacks. Then this went before the board in April, and I'm going to read from the LAR. It was moved to recommend denial of the project based on incorrect, non-measured elevations, incomplete information on the restoration of what appears to be a fairly original screen porch, information on the window replacements on the contributing structure that have already been made, and to accommodate or redesign functional services on the ADU and possibly consider window changes that would be more compatible with window projection and recession forms in Armory Park. Ellen Vincent, one of the property owners, is here, and she can go ahead and present and narrate more on the project.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ellen. Before you continue, so you're the property owner?
Yes.
Okay, and who else is here for this case? Anyone?
Sam Nicolari, if I said that right?
He is actually traveling and I think
I'm
he's
on.
having. Oh, you're
Okay.
here. Oh, great.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm on.
Okay, and Sam, what is your affiliation? Do you want to just put that in the chat if you would? And anyone
local
else associated with this case or other cases, please identify in the chat your full name and your affiliation and which case you're with. Please, that would be very helpful because
He's
all of a
also
sudden,
the owner. He and I are the owners of this property.
okay, Sam is?
Yes.
Okay. And let's see if I can find the spelling of his name because there's lots of names here. I'm not seeing it. Maybe it's here. Sam Nicolari. Okay.
Terry,
All right.
quick question before Jason moves on. He had a summary and there was one item that said does not satisfy. Is that based on what we're going to look at today?
If you are referring to does not satisfy, it's in the criteria where it's just the setbacks. And
Yeah.
so they'd be asking for a variance.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Go ahead, Ellen. Thank you for your patience.
Okay. Thank you. I am going to wait, can I not share my screen? It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
They'll go ahead and fix
I
that for
just
you.
made
Oh,
you
okay.
co-host.
Great. Thank you. All right. Let me find okay, there it is. Sorry. Are people seeing my screen? Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is the property that we're talking about. This is our home. Thank you everyone for your time also, and thank you for the summary, Jason. I'll give a quick overview, and a short version of what happened since that April 21st hearing. We basically went back to the drawing board and, we heard what they said and we have a revised plan here, which reflects two significant changes, mainly a redesigned rear porch based on historic evidence. And we also have professionally prepared architectural elevations because the Armory Park Board were unhappy with the drawings we presented. So we went back and got architecturally prepared elevations, which I will show you. And just a quick overview. Like Jason said, there's the 405 square foot ADU, which was approved. It's a pre-approved city plan from the model plan library. The detached Sonoran ADU designed by Silva and Havens. And the second part of it is this demolition of the non-original rear shed addition, which is structurally failing. And I can show you the evidence of that. We do need to demolish it in order to make room for the ADU, but it is so structurally failing that it would need to go away anyway.
I'm sorry to interrupt. It'd be good if you scroll your screen so we could
Yeah.
look at the drawings as you're narrating.
Oh, yes, of course. I was planning on going through them, but I can do that absolutely right now. So here's an old picture. I don't have a source of this, but this was our house way back when, prior to the construction of what is now the addition. You can see here on the north or east corner what looks like an enclosed sleeping porch. And this was pointed out at the April 21st hearing by Stephen Grady at the end as something to emulate in terms of restoring this to the original historic footprint. Initially, we had proposed at that hearing an open porch formation, but Stephen Grady suggested this, and this is more in line with what we are proposing in this meeting. In terms of what the demolition looks like now, I will show you some pictures now. So this is a rear view of it. Side views of it are here. And then as you can see, this is the current state of the foundation of the addition. And in interior, you can see that's a level placed on the floor inside of the addition. You can see it's I can zoom in for you. The bubble on that is all the way over here. So the floor is like fully sloping because of this failing foundation. This is the addition that we are proposing to demolish, just the non-original parts. There are interior walls let me find that one. The picture of the interior walls. Where are they? Okay, here in the back, you can see, I zoomed out, sorry. You can see this is an original wall, brick wall that was there back in 1909. And these will be preserved. And this is the header, which will be preserved as well. And we will, let me show the elevation so that you can see what we're actually proposing here. This is the north elevation has what is the existing porch, the existing addition, I mean, and then this is what we propose to replace it with, which would be just the original footprint with the matching fascia and eave treatment and roof treatment that's consistent with the rest of the structure. All of the original brick would be preserved. We would just add these tongue and groove wooden exterior walls. And this is a sample window on here. We are intending to replace it with this sort of high quality sleeping porch windows that can have a screen or be a storm window. I haven't located the exact product that we would propose, but as with the window quality for the ADU that we propose, which are high quality, double hung wood Pella windows, we would be proposing windows of the same caliber quality. Here is the picture of an actual porch that we found at 16th and Railroad that we believe is likely we can't prove what was there way back when, we do have that one photo where you can see the little corner, but this is like what we found in the neighborhood that looks exactly like, this is also a Queen Anne cottage. It looks exactly like what we were imagining the original enclosed porch looked like on our property, on our house. It looks like these people decided to put an addition on the other side that looks much nicer than the addition that the people put onto our house. But we discovered this after the April 21st hearing. We were excited to present it to you today because I do believe that it can serve as precedent. And let me know if you want to see any more, of the addition. This is another view. You can see how this is the front porch. This is the back porch. They match in terms of, we're going to preserve those headers for sure. These are a little bigger, but they're matching. They're matching front and back porch styles. And if you look at I'll find the Sanborn fire map page for you as well. If you look here, Desiree specifically called out that this yellow part of the 1919 and the 1947 fire map, and the 1909, this indicates porch, I believe is what you said, Desiree. Do you recall what I'm talking about?
So it refers to a wood frame porch.
Right.
And I
So
know Jason did some additional research. So Jason, if you wanted to chime in about the Sanborns, I think you can too.
Yeah, well, all these Sanborns I found online at the Library of Congress. And so there's a 1909 Sanborn. You can see where it is an open porch. This is a sleeping porch. It's going to say SP. It's an open porch, just like its note on the front elevation. And then in the 1919 Sanborn, they extended the porch to be outside the original porch footprint. And then it was there in 1947. Then you got 1972 footprint from the Pima County property record where it got enclosed, and the SR, it stands for shed roof. So this is something that I dug up to see what change was happening on the rear. So we have visual evidence of what was happening. I provided all this to Ellen and Sam some time ago.
yeah. Um, so I believe that we also have new east elevations that architectural, so that you could see what what the east side would look like. Here it is currently. This is the addition. And then with the ADU construction here, this is the wall, the enclosure that we proposed. On the north side, there would be the 6-foot corrugated fence between us and the property to the north, which also has a 2-foot setback between that fence and their building. So it's not really utilized space for them for that apartment complex back there at all. Uh, Removing this part of the addition would give us enough space on the property to build the ADU. And restore this to its original footprint. I know you probably have all had a chance to look at this proposal, this revised proposal, in addition to probably the initial proposal. And I am wondering what questions you have at this point, I guess. What do you need to talk, what do you need to talk about? See in the proposal, anything?
Okay, well, Ellen, what I can do is I can call on PRS members and see who would like to start with questions. Who would like
Great.
to go first?
I can. We're not going over the ADU or doing that second?
We
Well,
can
we
go
can,
over the ADU.
yeah, we could do that. Yes, let's go through the whole project so that we can ask our questions cumulatively then.
Okay. So the ADU is it's a 405 square foot ADU with a maximum elevation of 13, and then there are stepped parapets down to 11. And are you interested mostly in materials or renderings or precedents?
Probably the whole thing. I mean, present your thought process on how you
Okay.
developed it. Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting because, we initially proposed this as like, here's the ADU, and then the focus really switched to the demolition and the proposed replacement with the porch. So I've been spending most of my energy and like focusing on that. The ADU is I'll give you the renderings of what it looks like. This is, this was built somewhere else, and but you can see what it looks like. This is the Silva and Havens detached Sonoran ADU. The window placements on this one would be different from ours. I can show you the elevation, some more elevations from the ADU, so you can see where the windows would be. Here are all of the elevations of the ADU. This is what the east elevation is, what would be seen from Herbert Avenue, the alley. But this double hung window would be partially obscured by the proposed enclosure, the proposed lime plastered Mikey block wall. This north elevation would not be visible. One thing that was flagged by Armory Park was that with a setback to the north of only 2 feet, there might not be enough space to access these utilities. And I hear that, and we are looking at moving those to the west side where there would be plenty of space to access those, so that we can have that 2 foot setback modification, for which there is ample precedent on Herbert Avenue. I can go through that as well if you're interested, but like literally every single property on Herbert Avenue has a setback modification. There's 0 foot, there's 2 foot, there's 4 foot. The setback, like I said, of the property to the north also has a 2 foot setback modification south of their property. Here we have the south elevation. This is what we would see from the porch, from the main house, are these this French doors, these square windows. West elevation, which is only visible really to our neighbor to the west. Two square windows for which there's also precedent in the neighborhood. Let's see, this is not, that's, here you can see again the east elevation of the ADU in relation to the main property. Here's south elevation existing, south elevation proposed, what it would look like. And let me go, here are the properties that most of the properties that have the setbacks, just so you can see them up. If you go up Herbert Avenue, 612 has a 2 foot setback to the south. That's the property that they access that from the north. So there's really, there's not a lot of issue with the construction of our ADU would probably actually, since it's on their south side, lower their electric bills because it would block the sun a little bit and keep it cooler for them, honestly, is what we're thinking. 610 Herbert Avenue, if you're walking up the alley, has a 4 foot setback to the east. 606 Herbert Avenue, 3 foot setback to the east, and also a 2 foot setback to the south. The other contributing property that we're talking about is with a precedent is across the street from us. This one, 218 East 17th Street, has a 0 foot setback to the east on Herbert. I'm gonna take you to the site plan now. And I make it a little bigger since I know it's hard to see. But this is, the aerial view of the whole property and how it would sit. This is the existing main residence of 933 square feet. There's a little shaded area here for the demolition that would be gone. There would be this, matching footprint. It's a 7 foot deep and 11 foot wide porch that we're proposing that matches the one that's actually not depicted here. And then, as you can see, the ADU in the rear, 405 square feet, 27 feet wide and 15 feet deep. If those are the correct terms, sorry. Then we have a 4 foot setback from the east side to the property line over there. That's a requested modification of setback. Then we have 11 feet over here on the west from the property line. And we are proposing the 6 foot corrugated metal fence to the rear. I mean, I can show you the existing conditions of that. This is where the ADU would sit. Once that is gone, there would be a lot more room for it. This is what the fence currently looks like in the rear. As you can see, it's kind of a mishmash mess of a fence that we propose just replacing with the 6 foot corrugated metal. And then the proposed enclosure from the northeast property line down 24 feet to a gated entrance. Here is the view from 17th Street if you're south facing north. You would see the ADU back there. And it is, like I said, is a pre-approved by the city model plan by Silva and Havens. Um, Here is, this is what the lime plaster clad Mikey block looks like. I think this is probably a slightly different color than what we're proposing. We're proposing unpigmented. Um, Here we have this precedent in the neighborhood for a parapet detail, uh, similar to the ADU. We have this three-sided parapet here, with the sloping roof as well. That's on Herbert. We have the precedent for square windows on Herbert. Um, Here are the renderings that I already showed you. Here is the lime plaster material. I'm gonna zoom back out again. We're proposing a smooth trowel texture like this one seen on Railroad in Armory Park. And there would be a galvanized metal roof finished with this Galvalume finish that meets Tucson's cool roof ordinance. And then I have the full permit set as an addendum. Um, what more can I say about the ADU besides that it has been designed in order to reflect the architectural style of the neighborhood, to be compatible with these structures, but not mistaken for an original historic building. All of the windows, doors, and parapet detail reflect the proportions for the contributing properties. It'll be insulated concrete form blocks, the ICF, the Mikey blocks, with a thickness of 12 inches, and the windows will be set into the walls 6 inches, just to match the depth of the windows of the primary residence. I think I covered it. Is there anything else that I didn't? What did I not cover? Any
Okay,
questions?
well, let's see if we're ready with questions then
Okay.
from the group. Savannah, are you ready with questions now?
I can start. And good job, Ellen. You
Oh, thank
covered
you.
it. I just have a few minor things. I mean, for the primary residence, I think what's proposed is fine. Just to clarify, the new windows are aluminum clad wood, is that right, for the porch? Or are they
For the
they're
porch,
well, not the porch, but the new and enclosed
the new
northeast corner.
enclosure, we haven't decided on a specific product, but we would never use vinyl,
Okay.
ever.
All
That
right. So I
would
would
never happen.
say we just need to say, I mean, what would be within the guidelines for armored
Mhm.
parks. So aluminum clad wood or something like that, even if you don't, I mean, even if you haven't picked your manufacturer yet, that would
Yeah.
be probably a good addition or clarification that we'd want to make.
Um,
And oh, go
def-
ahead.
Definitely, I can show you the windows that we chose for the double hung for the ADU, except
Yeah,
I
I
can
saw that in
find
there.
them. Oh no,
Oh,
here they are. Here they are. Yeah. So these are the Pella, yeah, interior wood with exterior brown aluminum. And we would likely choose something similar for the porch.
okay. So I would say you should make that decision now so you don't have to come back,
Okay,
right?
well, let's make that decision now then. Yes, we're going to use these windows
Okay. All right.
for the
Sounds
porch.
good. No,
Yes.
that sounds good.
Yeah.
And then the material, you said the door on that elevation, on that north elevation, there's a
Yes.
metal screen door, but then what is the material of the existing door? Is it a wood door?
Yeah, existing, it's a wood door, but we are going to construct one that is identical to the porch door that's on the front. So exactly similar to this. This will be the wood. And I'm not sure
Okay.
if we'll still have a metal screen door or not, probably not. Um, I know that was like drawn in the elevations. We went back with the architect a couple times for to get accurate dimensions. So I didn't go back to say, what about the screen door or whatever, you know. Anyway, but we
Yeah,
have this a wooden door that will be constructed exactly to match the one that exists in the front that looks just like this.
with the glass light
Yes,
at the top half. I
yes,
think
yes.
that's good. Okay. Yeah, I think it's just, yeah, I think you're doing the right things. It's just the elevations don't have all the notes in there just to confirm it. So we could just note that. And then I'm also like the previous or the existing conditions photo you showed had like
Yeah.
2 steps, 3 steps down to grade or something. Are you gonna have 2 steps and a land
Okay,
or a
no.
landing in 2 steps? I mean, I'm wondering
Here,
how that is because it's not shown on the site plan.
here it's no, you're right. Our plan is so currently there's 18 inches from the ground to the porch, like the front porch. I measured that, okay, which is the same as the back as the rear. Those steps go up to 18 inches. What we want to do, and we definitely need to like, you know, make sure it's up to code, but the idea is that inside if there would be one step down from like into the enclosed porch, one step down there, and then one step down to the outside. Does that make sense? So like you can see
Okay.
how it's reflected here as like existing, like you know, the steps go up. There's like one, two here. But here, there it would be just one step down to the ground because we are planning on taking it down, like, you know, lower on the interior already. Does that make sense? Am I just
Yeah.
well?
No, I get so you'd have a
Yeah.
step on the interior, but you would still have
Yes.
one step on the
Yes.
exterior.
But just
Okay. And
one. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Um, and no gutter on the eave there.
No, no gutter. No,
Okay.
no gutter. I think there exists a gutter on the front, but we're
Yeah.
not planning on installing a gutter.
Okay.
And there might actually be a gutter that exists already over here on the right. I'm not sure. Sam, do you know if you're here?
Here, yeah. Um,
Okay,
no, there's no gutter. There's only the gutter on the front area.
only on the front. Okay.
Okay. That's all the questions I had. That I think the rest are have to do with the site plan.
Okay.
And the setback on the north. I mean, you've already squeezed, and it's only the main concern I have is just the 7 feet between the ADU and the primary residence. So that's why I see you only have a 2 foot setback on the north, and that I understand. But the 3 foot
Mhm.
on Herbert, is that because you're making like a little yard to the west?
You mean well, there's 3 foot to the like the Mikey Black wall will be one wall will be a foot wide, 12 inches wide. That'll be right
Okay,
on the property line. And then there's just the 3 feet between the wall and the ADU.
right. So that's a reduced setback. I'm just understanding
Yes.
why it's not pushed further west, and I suspect it's because you have a little yard or some
Oh,
sort of like
oh,
kind of
oh.
outdoor space that's
Well, okay, so let me find the site plan for you and describe. And Sam, jump in, please, as needed
The
as to why
the
we went
idea
so
was, yeah,
much.
that the 3 foot area is just a walkway access to the backside of it and an area to, just have some landscaping. And then
on
on
the
the other
west
side of
side.
it, on the
Okay,
west side is yeah, like will be a little storage area, like yard storage area and a little garden.
a garden. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any landscaping plan? And isn't that part of the last ADU review we saw had a landscape plan because I think there's like a tree requirement or something, but maybe others uh on
I don't
here.
remember any talk about any landscaping issues.
Okay. Blake, maybe
It's
you can address that. I don't know. The last one we looked at had that. But I think the setbacks are fine if you're making. I just wanted to understand it.
Um,
there's existing trees along the side of the house there. So
Oh, on the
I
west.
on the east side. No, on the west side, we don't have any
there's
uh,
nothing.
large tree plants there. Just but
Yeah,
do you think
so
we should add some? Is there a tree requirement that we don't know about as far as that's concerned?
It depends, I think, when you applied for your permit, but there is now with the middle housing ordinance for all residential.
Is it one
there's a
tree per
requirement.
ADU or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's one per
Oh,
dwelling or
well,
one per 1,000 square feet. Yeah.
we have these two trees you can see here. We have a grapefruit tree. Wait, are there two or one, Sam? There's two, right?
There's one, two. There's three that are growing that are small, and then there's two existing large citrus
Yeah.
trees.
These are the citrus trees on the property.
Okay.
And then we have an olive tree growing, right?
And two more citrus trees, and then there's a
Mhm.
Arizona show fine on the corner there too. So there's quite a few already.
Got it. Okay. And then, sorry, my last question, I think the ADU is fine. The last question is, again, I'm just concerned about the 7 feet between, and then you're sloping roofs into the same little 7 feet. I think you have a plan for how to drain that area. Again,
The
the site
ADU
plan
is
doesn't
going to have
really.
ADU will be have a the water will drain out the west side of it.
The west, okay. Because it
Yeah,
has a gutter, but I didn't see a
yeah, and in
downspout, so I
between it's
didn't know
going to be
which side.
yeah. The plan is to put a water catchment um, feature there on the west side to catch the water.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you have to scroll all the way to the ADU plans. There's a gutter
Yeah,
It-
let
on
me
the
go
south
quick.
elevation.
Sorry, I'm just scrolling away. Okay. Oh, on the actual site plans, you mean all the way down? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know.
I was looking at sheet A03, maybe sheet 48.
48 here.
Yeah, there's a gutter on the south elevation, but I didn't see a downspout, so I didn't know which way the water was going.
It's
Yeah, it's
definitely
going to
going
go
to go the
to the
west.
west
West. Okay.
and then into
Okay.
a water drum.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. I think that's all I had. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
you.
Anybody else?
Who would like to be next?
Yeah, I'll go.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I was a little concerned about the setback, as Savannah was. I'm wondering, would you the picture you showed of like the east side of the existing house,
Mhm.
it's got kind of like a little garden area with some plantings where that citrus tree was.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if you would be amenable to matching the east setback of the ADU to the house, or if you wanted to push the ADU like west and do your garden area on the east. I think the reason I'm saying that is like when we look at the reduced setbacks, we grant them all the time, but it has to do kind of with like the character of the streetscape and what you have
Mhm.
there.
Mhm.
So it looks like the building north of you is like a little closer. And some of them are built close, but I don't know, I'm taking a little pause with it being like forward of the main house on
So you
Herbert.
so you mean sliding the whole ADU to align to be parallel, kind of down the east line of the house,
Yeah,
pushing it west. Yeah.
or if you wanted to push it like even further west and do a reduced setback on the west side to give you like, because I understand your lot is you don't have a lot of room to work with in the back there. So if you
Mhm.
wanted that reduced setback on the west, I think that might like better fit kind of the character of that streetscape on your east side
And
with with
that
like a
would be
garden
push,
area.
right. So that would be pushing it 4 feet off the west side. So then, yeah, okay. I mean, I
If
don't personally have a
if that
problem.
works for you guys.
I mean, so that would make it pretty much just like kind of,
Straight lines with both
with the
sides.
same exact lines of the main property. Let me find if I look at the square footage here is it's 25, yeah, so the main property is 25 feet wide completely, and the ADU
Mhm.
is 27. So it's not exactly, it wouldn't be exactly flush, although we do have, these this kind of extension on the west side of the windows that's probably 2 feet right there.
You
Or
could
at least
flush
one.
the east side and then just have it push those 2 extra feet would be pushed toward the west.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you want to li line it up with like the west bump out of the house,
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be fine. That may give you like a more kind of contiguous yard space, like on the east, wrapping around to the back. I don't know. But
I mean, right now we have our AC unit is right to the west of the existing addition.
mhm.
So it's sitting there. It used to be over on the east side, and so but then we redid it, and so now it's over here in that little corner. We were gonna move that over to this side of the house to make some more room for back here. I mean, I think like part of the concern is just, that kind of clutter, like having all of the utilities over here. But I mean, we'll, if the setback on the east side is an issue, we want to do whatever is going to bring this to approval, really. So
Okay. Yeah,
really
I think yeah, I
what
think my preference would be that it doesn't like s- uh, stick out further than the existing house, but we'll see what the other commissioners think. It's not like a hill I'll die on, I don't think. Um,
okay.
I'm sure you have it in here. Can you clarify the height of the ADU versus the height of the house?
Oh, yes, absolutely. The height, the house is 18 feet. And you can see here. So this is 18 feet
Oh, okay.
and this is 13 at the top
Okay.
here. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Sorry, that wasn't on these elevations. You're right. But
No,
yeah,
you're
that's
good.
18 and 13. So
Okay. And then your new fence material, is that part of this package, or were you gonna come back for a like a minor review on the fence?
you mean for the chain link or for the
Yeah,
monkey
we're gonna do a minor review for the
Oh,
fence
okay.
replacement.
thing? Yeah.
Okay. I just kind of saw it in this elevation, so I wasn't sure because if you knew what you wanted to do, we could approve it as part of this. But
No, Sam, I mean, I think he's talking about what we're asking for approval for is this type of fence that's rendered leasehold.
I thought you mentioned like on the east side you wanted,
Yeah.
yeah. So is that like a solid wall there?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
I thought you meant
Okay.
Yeah.
the fence around the entire
No, no,
property.
no.
Oh,
You're
no.
good.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, we are asking for approval for that section of the enclosure for sure.
Okay. And that's all 6 foot or under.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yes.
Cool. I
Yeah,
think
it's six
that's
feet high.
okay. Very good. I think
Mhm.
that's all the only questions I had. I was just gonna comment. I think your replacement plan or the demo and repair plan for the porch is good. I think you've done your research. I agree with your strategy there. And I was going to point out too that uh, they the Sambor map is showing 47. It doesn't mean it was like added on in 47, but the period of significance for Armory Park ends at like 1945. So I think it's very unlikely that shed addition that you're tearing off is even like in the period of significance, and certainly isn't original to the house. So um, I yeah, you're good to go there, I think, in my opinion. So
Thank you.
that's all I had.
Okay, thank you. Blake, do you have any comments?
I do think that leaves it to me. So I have been furiously Googling, because there was when Savannah said something about the landscape requirements for ADU that did tickle something at the back of my brain. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find anything concrete in the code about it. However, I was able to find a presentation from the city of Tucson that does say there is for this type of new construction on an ADU, there is one new tree for every 1,000 square feet of gross floor area of the project. So there is a requirement of one tree, but half of the new trees must be in the front yard. So you can't plant only half a tree, so the tree could go in the front yard.
Wait, is it
When
that per 1,000 square feet, but we're only at 400 square feet?
it covers the, up to 1,000. So
Oh,
if
oh,
it
oh, I
was,
see.
if you were at 1,001 square
Okay.
feet, right, then we're still saying that would be 2 trees. So there
I
is a
see.
requirement of one new tree.
Oh, it says it right.
It needs to be on the Arizona Department of Water Resources low water use tolerant plant list. Because there are a couple of other requirements that it has to be non-invasive, but most of the plants on that list already are. And you could just use the ADWR plant list, Google that, and it'll come up. I would use the 2022 version as it has more details than the 2024 version, which is just a list of species and their botanical names. The 2022 version has a whole chart that lists size and origin and the water usage. So part of this requirement is that the tree is a low or very low water use tree, and that it's hardy below 15 degrees. So it won't get frostbit when if the temperature dips down that far. Most of the species on that list are already going to be there. So you guys should be fine. And looking at the front yard, you guys have room for a tree. And that will, as to your point for the I think it was the 612, the lot behind you guys, having, depending on which tree you pick, a nice tree in your front yard on that south facing side will help you guys with your energy costs, because it should give you guys some nice shade there too.
Blake,
But that's
there's
all
a
I was able to
comment.
find.
Blake, there was a comment in the chat saying that existing trees count from Lisa Bowers. I don't know who Lisa Bowers is. So how do we reconcile this, or just go with what you're saying?
Can I chime in, Chairman
Yes.
Yeah.
This is Steph. So I think we're kind of veering off into like general zoning requirements. As the presentation was occurring, I looked in our system at zoning requirements, or the zoning comments, residential building comments. I don't see anything about the trees. Given once the historic approval is done, this will go back, to all the other reviewers. It'll go to zoning, it'll go to residential. And so they will
Yeah.
provide comments. And if there are any requirements, I think as Commissioner Christopher mentioned, there might be like a timing issue. And I don't know if when that starts or when it doesn't.
Right.
It's not my expertise. I don't know if, there's a comment of existing trees count, they may count. So I just want the applicant to know this will be, information will be provided to you by the zoning and or residential reviewers, but this is good for information. It just, I don't know definitively if this is required.
Yeah.
Thanks,
And
Desiree.
I think, yeah, thank you. And thanks, Blake, though, for that. And
Yeah.
thank
I
you,
think
Lisa,
the reason
whoever you
I brought it up was trying to understand if there was a tree to the west and that drove the requirement for a reduced setback or something like that. So in the
I do see what you're
context
saying.
of, you know, making sure there's room or providing landscaping, I
Right.
think it does affect how we determine if the setback is acceptable.
There's no current tree on the west side,
Got it.
so.
Okay, so I would suggest that we move ahead with a motion because we're sort of double the time allotted for this case. And so Savannah or Andrew, who's going to do the motion? And you want to go over it
Well,
before
I mean, I think we need to go back to Andrew's comments about the setback on the west. I mean, I think it's a good idea too, but it's not the primary street elevation, so I guess I'm open depending on how others feel.
I think whatever works best. I mean, you know, that matches, that fits more with the streetscape in the neighborhood personally.
Be honest, when we first laid it out with the architect, I was leaning toward having it flush with the east side. So I'm perfectly fine, Helen, like you are as well, making it flush on the east side.
What do you, wait, Sam, no, I mean, they're asking for not having it be flush on the east side, mainly.
Oh, there. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
they're
just
asking for
okay.
to squeeze it over to the west, maybe.
Okay.
You know? So I thought you were going to say something about your reasons for that. I don't know. I'm open. We're flexible.
We're very flexible.
So Andrew, do you want to go over that again and I can get it in the motion? Exactly how
Ye- Yeah, so I was kind of trying to type it out. I was gonna
Oh,
say,
okay, then you can do it.
uh, gonna say that the eight. So you guys were asking for what on the east side? Because I think we could give you that on the west side. 4. Okay,
Four.
a 4 foot. So okay, I think the way I would phrase it would be the ADU should be shifted to the west so that the east setback is no less than the existing house, and that a 4 foot setback on the west side would be acceptable. So we're kind of giving you the setback reduction just on the other side.
Okay.
How do you does that how do you feel about that, Savannah?
Yeah, that sounds good. And then the
Okay.
2 foot on the north is acceptable.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I would add the other notes I have, the new windows to be aluminum clad wood on the primary residence.
And that's just the porch, the new porch
Yeah.
windows, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And that the new wood and glass light door on the north elevation to match front door. I mean, it's in the documents, but it's not noted on the elevation. And it's
Mhm.
a different looking door on the elevation, so I would just say maybe should be
Okay.
updated on the elevation to match the front door.
Yeah, I think that when we are in, construction, we'll have more detail in the architectural drawings for that, for sure.
Cool. And then it sounded like you guys were still kind of figuring out where to put the mechanical. So I'm just gonna say that all new mechanical equipment to be screened from view from the street or something, and you guys can figure out how that happens.
Mhm.
Desiree, I have a question for you. John
Yes.
Burr's asking, since this is a different plan than Armory Park reviewed, will it come back to Armory Park if approved here?
So the UDC notes that the PDSD director can refer projects back to the board or PRS for further consideration. So given that Armory Park recommended denial, I would recommend to the PDSD director that it be referred back to Armory Park. Of course, that's up to her, but I would think that that probably makes sense, just so that the applicant has the opportunity to get their buy-in for a possible recommendation of approval now that the plans have evolved.
Yeah, and we're not quite to a motion yet, but we will get there soon. So thank you, Desiree. And I wanted to point out that I put several messages in there for people who have not told me who they are and which cases they're associated with. So please do that because it makes so much more work for us if we don't have accurate legal action reports. Thank you. Okay, Andrew, let's move ahead.
Alrighty. All right. On the matter of item 4A, case SD 1125000168/TC RES 1125053999, located at 212 East 17th Street, I recommend approval of the project as presented with the following conditions. 1, that the new porch windows are to be aluminum clad wood. 2, the ADU should be shifted to the west so that the east setback is no less than the existing house and that a 4-foot setback on the west side would be acceptable. 3, the 2-foot north setback is acceptable. 4, new wood and glass light door on north elevation is to match the existing front door. And 5, all new mechanical equipment shall be screened from view from the street.
Is there a second?
There's
Second.
Ellen, we're in a motion right now. We can't. It's just among us now.
the
Sorry.
address is wrong on there.
I was just going to point that out. Can we change it back to 217?
Yes, I accept your friendly amendment and I won't read the whole thing again.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ellen. I would have made sure I had noted that already. But good eye. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion?
No.
Oh, no, we don't have a second. Who's seconded?
I second.
Oh, Savannah seconded.
Okay, this meeting's out of control. Okay, so. All right, no further discussion. Let's go ahead and vote. I vote aye. Andrew?
Aye.
Savannah?
Aye.
Blake?
Aye.
Great. The motion passes 4-0. And if Ellen and Sam, if you have questions, please let Desiree and Jason know about the next steps in the process, okay?
Will do. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time.
Great,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goldstein, for telling me who you are. Okay, there's others. Let's move on to item 5A, which is Santa Rita Park signage. These are courtesy reviews. 5A is Santa Rita Park signage at 401 East 22nd Street. Desiree, do you want to take this? We do have some comments that I'd like to read into the record, and I have a suggestion.
Okay. Yes, I
Once you're
can.
done.
Okay. So the Parks and Recreation Department and Historic Preservation Office seek input on the proposed interpretive signage for the Santa Rita Bathhouse and Pool, which will be installed at Santa Rita Park, a public park owned by the City of Tucson. And we do have a representative here from Parks, Matt Christman, to kind of go over the markup or the mock-up of the proposed signage. So I'll go ahead and introduce him. But it's a little bit of background. So the Santa Rita Bath and Pool was demolished last year. And this is, it was kind of part of an overall, park improvement. And the State Office of Historic Preservation had found the building to be eligible. So as mitigation, we have been working with Parks to create signage for that building. Of course, there's also there's another oral history and kind of interpretive project that on the park site that was already proposed, but Matt will provide additional information on that.
Okay, so are we ready for the presentation?
So I'm having some computer issues, so I have to go on my cell phone. So for Santa Rita Park, when we were talking about the bathhouse, I presented that we would put an interpretive panel that talked about the history of the Santa Rita Park pool, and we had Dennis Caldwell design that. I believe there it is. Sorry. This is the design of the sign of the interpretive panel. One thing that I remembered talking about is putting in a QR code that talked about the oral history, because we were working with the Mexican American Heritage and History Museum to house the QR code and to compile the oral history of the park and the pool. So I need to get with Dennis to add that QR code to the interpretive panel. And it's also in collaboration with the Barrio Santa Rita Neighborhood Association as well. But this is the design that we are proposing for the interpretive panel. For this, we talked about the history of the pool, the bathhouse, and included a picture of the bathhouse area right above it. And then we have the pool uh, when it was back when it was built. And then we also talked about the desegregation of the public pools across the city of Tucson. So I said that we would come back and present the interpretive panel to you guys. So this is the first. This is us coming back to you guys to present the interpretive panel for the park.
Okay, commissioners, before you start with your comments, I want to bring up, we had a comment from Helen Erickson. Was that her comment? No, let's see. It was Helen's. So Helen commented that the text leaves a number of unanswered questions by generalizing. Is it known when in the 60s the public swimming pools were integrated into Tucson, or at least this particular pool? One would guess it was a big deal. And if there's more specific information, it should be included here that's verified. And I think my concern about this panel is that I think Desiree should consult with the Tucson Historic Preservation Foundation because they were very, very concerned. Another comment is that we should talk about it not just as the pool and bathhouse, but just say, this was part of a larger park that was a very important community gathering place for the Hispanic community, and we need to really be sure that you've consulted thoroughly with the Hispanic community in Tucson, because this will be, and not really not talk so much about talk about the desegregation, but also that Tucson built this pool for a place for Mexican Americans to be. I mean, I think this needs a lot more work. And Desiree had mentioned that there's really no rush on this. And someone also commented that does it warrant more panels? I'm not saying it does, but anyway, I think we need a little bit more than just the description. Why this was such a concern to the Preservation Foundation and to the Commission. And because it didn't rise to that level of concern with Parks and Rec, or, things were going to get demolished. And so I think we really need to do it justice just to do justice to the community's concerns. So other commissioners, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I agree with Helen's comment and yours, Terry. I think some additional history on the desegregation, kind of the role that public pools played in the civil rights movement. It's one of like the most visceral images, some of the most visceral images we have kind of that era. I think in addition to that, and maybe this is going to go on other signage in the park, but like history of the park itself beyond just the bathhouse and pool. There was, I think the Preservation Foundation had a pretty good write-up that talked about, there were like drive-in movies here and things like that. But I'd like to see kind of some more comprehensive history of the park in here. And then I don't know if we ever got like any additional information on it, but I think Demian had flagged this and I had flagged this that you do mention in here it was called South Park initially, or Southside Park. Um, and there is, a historically black neighborhood called South Park, just immediately, adjacent to this park that's a pretty important part of like black history and segregation in Tucson that I think deserves a bit more research to see what, if any, connection there was between these places. And then in addition to that, just kind of as like a couple graphic or like imagery items, I think your background image is great here. There's several to choose from what I've seen. And then for the image of like the pool house and bath, it'd be great if there was like a historic photo that maybe was a bit more flattering. That doesn't just show it in like its boarded up contemporary state before it was demolished. If you could find that, that'd be cool. In lieu of that, it'd also be cool if you could. There was the original plan from the I don't know if it was a city employee or but the engineer or landscape architect who designed the park. It'd be cool to have a little map of that, kind of showing what that layout was and where the pool and bathhouse were, in relation to like the park boundary. Because I think that context is lost, obviously, with those things having been removed.
Mhm. Just pointing out to Jennifer Levstick is on the meeting. She is here to comment, provide any information on the history because she compiled that in her role at Westland. Okay, who's next? Savannah or Blake?
Yeah, no, I agree with all the thoughtful comments. As much as we can provide in terms of like insightful detail and history, I think it's important. My question was really like, what is the material? Where is this? What's the size of this? Where does it go exactly? Is any of that figured out?
So we were going to put it in the off the walking path that is going in that area. So we were going to put the interpretive panel in the area of where the bathhouse was, to show, like, if you look at the picture, you could sort of, with the trees that are around it and whatnot. So we were going to put this interpretive panel in that general area off of the walking path, and then if somebody wanted to stop, they could. We can look at. I can go back and see if we want to talk more about, and if it goes into two panels, and talk about the overall history, how we do that around the walking path, because I think that would be good, good stopping points for people, like if they're walking, to see what that is, and then we could put the QR code on all of that signage, as well, so they could get the oral history of the park as well, that the Mexican American Heritage and History Museum was putting together, for that too. So that was our initial thought, was to put the interpretive panel over in that general area of where the bathhouse was.
Okay, I mean, you don't have a material or a size or how it gets
So
mounted or anything like that.
the material is this, it's a sun resistant material, so it doesn't fade. The warranty on it is for 20 years. If it goes before that, it's free of charge for the warranty of the replacement. So this is the same material that we used over at Rio Vista Park for our trail maps, for over there. And then I can get you the signage. I just gotta find that. I don't have that off the top of my head.
Okay. I mean, it seems like there's going to be another round of editing in this. It'd be nice to maybe see more on the plan, where it goes, how it gets mounted, that kind of stuff. I think this group would be really
And the layout.
Yep.
And
yeah.
also, I think that we really need to be sure that Desiree arranges a consultation once we compile these comments with the Tucson Historic Preservation Foundation. And Matt, could you talk a little bit about your level of consultation with the Hispanic community? Is it only through the museum?
So it is through the museum and the Barrio Santa Rita Neighborhood Association. It was John, who is the president. He is the one that, because it was part of the public art component, and they thought that it would be a great way to talk about the history of the park is to do this QR code and to get the oral history for it. So that's who, um, but it's been a collaboration between the public artist, Oliverio, John, and the Mexican American Heritage and History Museum to get that done.
Okay, and I think it would be great to continue consultation with them after you get comments from the Preservation Foundation, have our comments, and so on. And I for one would like to see it again. Would everyone else like to see it again?
Yeah.
Yeah, and on that related note, have you guys done any consultation with um any groups like in the Black community or Black history communities, or is it just the kind of Hispanic Mexican American communities?
It has not been outreach for the African American.
Jen Levsick, was there any association with the Black community that you found in your history research?
Yeah, I think there's been some confusion about that. So based on the research that we did, yes, it appears that the impetus behind the creation of this was probably associated with the local Latino community. But African Americans, maybe certainly they could use maybe some of the park, but the pool itself was actually barred from use by African Americans. So even though folks that were living in South Park were just down the street from it, they weren't able to use this pool. So we reached out to the African American History Museum of Southern Arizona. I reached out to some other scholars as well in the Black community, and none of them really had a direct association with it, even with the South Park proximity. And what we discovered was that the pool that most African Americans used that lived in and around the downtown area was Ori Pool, which is over at the Ori Community Center on the other side of downtown. And same thing too with that the majority of the Latino community actually used Ori Pool, not Santa Rita Pool. So I think there's some conflation about some of that background history with this pool. That's probably not entirely historically accurate. Also, too, I wanted to chime in a little bit about the vagueness on the date of integration. We don't actually know. I think the only way at this point to really figure that out would be to do like a deep dive in the city clerk's office and like go through microfiche to find it. We could not actually find an official date. All we know is that, desegregation in Tucson is sort of similar to what it would have been nationally. So it would have been in the 1960s, mid 1960s or so, but we don't actually have a concrete date for when this pool was integrated. So hence the reasons for some of the vagueness in that.
Desiree, did you have something, or can I ask Blake if he has any comments first?
Yeah, I have some responses to some of the things you brought up earlier, but let Blake go first and I can go
Okay,
after.
thank you.
Thank you very much. I think oftentimes I'm going to quote my boss Karen Caesar. Sometimes less is more. I think that the background historic photo on this is really, really good. And I think that these other two images are detracting from this. I know that this is a first draft and first stab at this, but I think it's a pretty good first attempt. But I would get rid of the photograph of the boarded up pool and bathhouse and the I can't tell if that's a photograph or a sketch. That other one of the two children looking through the chain link fence. And that might give you some room for plugging that QR code in at the bottom. One of the things, I mean, with the interpretation of history, or with the current interpretation of our shared history being redesigned at the highest levels, I think that small acts like this become more and more important, um, regardless of whether um, it was, regardless of when it was officially desegregated, or what the details are. This was the first public swimming pool in our city and was used by Tucsonians for a long time. And I think the body text here kind of falls short of capturing the significance um, of this pool. Um, I want to see it again. I'm looking forward to seeing edits get made and um, what Desiree has to say.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Desiree, go ahead.
Well, thank you so much for everyone's comments. I think they've all been very helpful, very constructive, and we'll definitely take them all back. I did want to respond to a few things, and some of the others have already addressed it, I think, but I did send this to Tucson Historic Preservation Foundation. I did not hear back. We can certainly follow up again, but I just want to let you all know that. Um, this pool was segregated, right? So, I mean, Jen can speak more to that history if we need to, but as you can see even from this photograph, right, this the pool was segregated. So I think there's some misunderstanding about the associations of the different communities. And as she already mentioned, we don't have a specific date for desegregation. Of course, it happened, like policies might have been passed, but that doesn't mean that that actually reflected in reality for a long time. Um, and I think to Blake's point, there is a science, right, to signage, and sometimes less is more, right? There are different considerations, right? People's attention spans when they're in a park, how much are they going to read in a sign? What are they going to take away from the sign? And accessibility issues, right? So we need to have the fonts need to be a certain size and things like that. So there are considerations for how much information we can put into the sign. And then Matt, I don't know if you want to speak to the other, maybe you already covered this sufficiently, but there is going to be, another interpretive area in the park that talks more about the history of the park more broadly. And when I reached out, when we were kind of going through the initial trying to figure out the significance or eligibility of the building itself, I also reached out to the Mexican American Heritage and History Museum, and most of them really did not know much about this pool. There didn't seem to be at least any known kind of strong connection to the Mexican American community until later when it was integrated. But that, given they were involved with oral histories, the pool was not something that was brought up. It was more so the park. There were soccer leagues and other leagues that were more commonly discussed during the oral histories. So just wanted to share those things.
Yeah, and the QR code, so for the public art component, there's a mosaic that's going to go on the water enclosure that's around the water manifold. So that mosaic, as you pull into the new parking lot, it's going to be right there with the QR code for people to get the oral histories there. And then as part of the public art component, the artist designed park benches that have been installed already by the playground that talk about the history of the park as well. And that was a collaboration between the people that were on the art committee as well as the Mexican American history for that. And that was with John as well. John was on that committee for that and the public art component. So that was through the Arts Foundation for that. So we have that as well.
And Desiree, I know that you had reached out. You forwarded me the email that you had sent to the foundation, but I think a call or a text to Demian saying please check that email and when can we talk would eliminate much angst.
Okay.
And it's, you did reach out. So any final comments on this, or is there anyone else associated with this particular courtesy review that we need to update in the list of people attending? If not, we'll just go with that. Can anyone tell me who Lisa Bowers is? I'm just curious. Citizen just attending the
Lisa
meeting, guest?
Bowers works a lot in the planning department. She is in the private sector, but works with many different applicants. So it's
Is she
yeah.
with some specific applicant here?
Sonoran Development Consulting.
Terry, I put it in the comments. If you scroll all the way up to the top of the comments, I put everything in there for you.
Okay, it's very bulky right now, so I will check in there. Thank you very much, Lisa. I appreciate it. Okay, so let's move on then to item 5B, which is TPPRE 0426-00094 at 1742 North Oracle Road. Desiree, do you want to go ahead and introduce us to this, and then also share the public comment?
Yes.
Thank you.
So the proposed project is a redevelopment of the Hacienda Motel, which is a contributing property listed on the National Register of Historic Places as part of the Miracle Mile Historic District. The project seeks to maintain almost all of the existing building footprints, maintain the exterior historic look, and convert this property into a mercantile, wholesale gem and mineral vendor-oriented lease spaces with an Oracle Road frontage. A new building, building number 3, would be added to the west and is intended for entertainment-themed use, along with the existing pool area for gem and mineral shows and presentations. The project also proposes a new perimeter fence and entry gates, demolition of 3 buildings at the rear of the parcel, a new 1-story addition and decorative rooftop sculpture to building number 7. There will be 4 one-bedroom apartment units on the existing second floor of building 6. And we do have the project applicant here today, but before I introduce them, I wanted to provide just a little bit of the kind of the regulatory framework for this review. So this is a courtesy review. The project site is not within an HPZ, nor is it a historic landmark, nor are they opting to use the infill incentive district, which sometimes can trigger historic review. So the only kind of hook, I guess you would say, for historic review would be that they're utilizing a parking exemption in the UDC that requires historic designation of the contributing structure to be maintained. But again, it does not require PRS review, so that's why it's a courtesy review. And just as a code reference, that's UDC 7.4.5.d. So today, we are bringing it to you to get your input on whether the proposed changes would impact the integrity of the site and thus impact its eligibility for listing as a contributing property. This process will also include conferring with the State Historic Preservation Office, because this is a National Register historic district, right? That's a federal program, and it's managed by the National Park Service in coordination with the State Office of Historic Preservation. Of course, they always would like CLG thoughts and opinions, and so whatever we discuss today will be provided to SHPO as well when I do a courtesy review with them to get their determination of eligibility or integrity analysis. I will note that I did previously consult with SHPO on a proposal to infill the pool. And SHPO confirmed that infill of the pool would not affect the contributing status. And from a practical matter, adaptive reuse of historic motels often include pool infills. We've seen it many other times in these types of properties that are no longer going to be motels. So that aspect was already completed, or the permit was already issued for that pool infill. I also reached out to SHPO about the proposed sculpture that you'll see in a moment, and they said that it would not impact the contributing status of the property so long as the structural integrity of the building beneath it is not compromised. But that has not been approved. That is part of the feedback that we're hoping to get today. But I did want to let you know that SHPO has not yet seen kind of the full package that was just provided last week. So you all are seeing kind of getting the first crack at this. We want your input. And again, we're looking at integrity, right? So there are the 7 aspects of integrity: feeling, association, location, materials, workmanship, craftsmanship, design. That's what we're hoping to kind of discuss today and after you hear and see what the proposed project is. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to the project applicant. I think Kyle, are you going to be leading the presentation?
I am, but Gene wanted to say something first. So Gene, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Gene Goldstein. I'm president of Bramik Design Group. I just wanted to say a couple quick high-level comments which may relate to the flavor of this project. A couple quick introductions first. Kyle Valabi is lead architect for Bramik Design Group. He's been the one putting a lot of the work into this. Kevin and Ingrid with Bramik are also on this call. They've put a lot of the physical work into creating these drawings, and I wanted them to be able to listen in to see the good and bad of what they're creating. Lisa Bowers, who's been working with me for over 20, 25 years and is the lead, probably in my opinion, the lead permit expediter, person who helps architects, engineers with the city, county, has been very integral to this project. And I want to thank all of you before I go any further with this. You've all done a lot. I know Kyle and Lisa spent some extra time with Desiree talking through our design package and the do's and don'ts of what will work, how we can try to expedite this project on a permitting basis. So they've both put in a lot of effort, and I want to thank them for that. I just want to say that from a historical standpoint, our firm was involved in this property about, 3, 4, 5 years ago, where it was abandoned at the time, and it was going to convert to multifamily from its current hotel C of O, motel, excuse me. And it went dormant. The project went away. And as we all know, this is a very blighted property, a lot of vandalism, fire damage, vagrancy, homelessness is going on. So we want to push this project through. Our client, my apologies, Mark, I forgot. Mark Cross, one of the clients is on this call. I believe he's still hung in there, and wanted to listen into what we're doing, answer any questions should he need to. But they're very excited about converting this property into a strong presence in the gem and mineral industry in Tucson, Arizona, which is very prevalent along Oracle, Maine, Stone. I think you all know, where they branch out to, and they want this to be a showcase for them in a very unique way. So, having said that, that's all I wanted to. I just wanted to say a couple quick things. Kyle, if you want to just walk everyone through the nuts and bolts of the project, I'd appreciate it. Any help you need from me, just yell.
Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
So we're on Oracle Road and Elm Street to the south, and I don't have the street name on the north. So we'll start at the north here. So again, Desiree did a good job of explaining what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel on this. We want to preserve the historic look of the buildings, basically to refresh them from being vandalized for probably almost 2 decades, to be a nice, clean retail kind of tenant space shopping center only for gem and mineral salespeople. The 4 apartments upstairs are not open to anybody can lease them. They're kind of if one of the tenants for the retail space needs a place to stay while they're at the gym show, then they handle it that way. It's not open lease apartments. Starting at the north here, building one. This building needs a new roof structure as it's failed throughout. There's a portion of it where they never did concrete flooring and it was wood framing sitting right on the dirt. That would be upgraded to concrete flooring. Um, Here where you see the dark gray, those are additions. So there's three buildings that are connected by roofs right here. And we had Western Resources do a review for us on this, and that's also been submitted. And Jennifer had suggested that these buildings come down because they are completely dilapidated, fire damage. And our approach to replace them is a larger building with the same concept look, um, different textured finished stucco, just so that it's not exact. And then there was a swimming pool, gated swimming pool area here. As she said, the swimming pool is currently being demolished, and they want this for an outdoor activity area. And this is a new building here. It's a long linear building. It's meant to have a temporary, it's a kitchen, but for temporary use for gatherings for their tenants. Um, and Furthermore on that, there is an image where the client has helped present for us that they want to use this entire area as an outdoor gathering area. These two existing curb cuts we're proposing that they be closed, so no more vehicles go in this north area. As you move further south, this building is existing to remain. The interior we've done demo permits on all of these for interior where they've been mostly gutted on the interior, no exterior work. And that's to divide them up into smaller tenant spaces. This smaller building here will be the restrooms for the entire site. There's a men's and a women's with multi-toilets and lavatories. And then as you move further south, this building on the southeast corner is the only two-story building on the site, and the upstairs is going to be the four temporary use apartments. And on the first floor is same tenant spaces for retail. And then the building on the corner also needs a new roof structure for about 60% of it. Once you get to here, so the bottom south portion all needs a new roof structure. And then you'll see this here is a proposed sculpture that's going on the roof. That will happen separately as a kind of handled as a sign permit. We will be providing a steel structure inside the building to the roof, and then so that the structure can then be connected to that steel structure, and it does not compromise the building because it's basically a steel frame underneath and it's freestanding on its own. We've made this a one-way drive through here. There's a typo on some arrows, but this is now a one-way drive only in here and then out onto Oracle with like a one-way pork chop exit. And then I can move into elevations. So this is building one, the furthest north building. And again, all we're trying to do is clean it up. There is some area, so they're trying to make this site a secure site because of where it's at and the homeless problem, the continued homeless problem, even now, with security fence and lots of stuff is damaged. I don't think there's one good window left in the whole place. On the north side of building one, which is on the side street, the client requested that we close in all the window openings, and so that's what we're showing, where it's not infilled flush, so it still has the shape of the window opening. Um, and again, that's for security purposes. I'll talk a little more about security and site wall in a minute. But again, the intent is just to leave it as it looks now and just get everything nice and cleaned up in a good presentation. I'm gonna switch over to, do you guys see Street View now, or do I need to change my share?
We could see Street View.
Okay, so here's building one. It's very dilapidated, been that way quite a while. And we're just trying to bring it back to something vibrant. Let's see here. What happened here? There we go. So yeah, it's just to clean this up. Let's see. So this is still building one. Currently there is some stone veneer on these posts, and we had proposed putting stucco on them, because what happened is they put tile backer board over the existing posts and they put stone veneer on there, and it happened within like the last 10 years is what we found on Google Street View. So we proposed painted stucco. Our intent is to keep the historic registration on this, so we need to come to whatever historic and SHPO says, because Desiree was concerned that there's a bunch of little things adding up, and we don't, we want to preserve the registration. So we need feedback from you guys on if we've gone too far or what else there is we can do to keep that, and keep, historic happy, as well as our clients getting what they need. This is building two, where the existing building is again dilapidated. Building two is in the back here. So if you look at the best we can see here against what we have, it is similar, using the same type of roof, same type of rough sawn wood patio, similar stucco texture, same kind of windows and doors. This is the new building for the outdoor activity area. As I said, there's behind this window on the right is a kitchen for temporary use for gatherings, and this is a sit down bar. And we emulated this building. This is the street, from the street here, the west elevation. We emulated this building to look like the existing building that is on the southwest corner, to try to keep the look the same. And then move, what building is this? Building 4. Okay. And this building, again, just cleaning it up. So currently this column here is shown as stucco. It had this stone veneer on it, and previously we found older pictures that shows that these behind these columns was these kind of steel decorative post, for lack of a better term, holding this up. And if that's something that helps us stay historic, then we would redesign these structurally and put them back in, rather than these being stucco, which is what we're currently showing. Let's see here. What happened? There you go. This is still building 4. The historic signs are meant to stay. They're going to be cleaned up and brought back to looking new. Let's see. This is the restroom building. no exterior changes. We are proposing on all of the buildings, rooftop mechanical being mini splits, and we are showing screens on the roof. And it would just be a metal, fabricated metal and painted to match the building. And then this is the 2-story. And again, on the back side, closing in all of the window openings, filling them in. But other than that, no changes to the exterior. And then here is the southwest corner building 7, where we are proposing this very large structure that looks like crystals. And again, on the exterior, on building 7, we have a small 300 square foot addition here to add some square footage for tenant space. And we just matched the look of the building. On this building 7, all of the existing roof tile is going to be taken off and used to repair the rest of the roof tile and then be replaced with new roof tile. And all the roof tile gets painted so that it all matches. It's already been painted, so it'll just be painted a brown color that's similar to what's there. Again, we get to the columns that are currently stone, and we want to change them to stucco. And again, if it helps, we can come in and put the steel decorative back in so that it looks more to the original. This is a view from Elm Street with the canopy. And then at the outdoor activity area, we're proposing a few ramadas and a water fountain for the gathering area. And then as far as replacing doors and windows, so the existing doors are smooth slab painted wood solid core doors, and we are proposing solid masonite doors. It says fiberglass, but it should be a masonite door. And then our windows, to replace in existing openings without changing the size of them, is to be aluminum clad wood windows. And then we just picked a typical exterior light fixture to that would be the same light fixture throughout the entire project. And then we are proposing a security fence / wall around the south side of the property and all the way up Oracle. And this is what we are proposing. So a low masonry wall with pillars that have a taper and wrought iron in between. I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on that. We can show you there's street views have been done on this that show all of the buildings connected from the street in color. And they show the security fence. Let's see. We'll start. So this is the southwest corner building with the sculpture. And you see that on the far right, you'll see a little piece of the security fence. And then in front of this building, there is no security fence. And then we have an exit driveway, automatic gate. And then as you move north, we have a little sign place for put kind of a sign on the wall here and a little planter. And the security fence continues all the way along Oracle. And here's the far north building where it ends. And then on Elm Street, we have a modified trash enclosure against the 2-story building. And then the security gate / fence continues, and there's our entry gate. And then in front of the southwest building, the security wall continues. And that kind of wraps up my presentation, and I'll be happy to hear you guys' discussion and comments.
Okay, thank you, Mark. I just wanted to ask Desiree, so Ken Scoville's comment about the demolition, the proposed demolition of the three buildings. So do I understand correctly that now that you have the complete plans from for the project, you will send those to SHPO for a discussion with them? Because
Yes.
I think it's very important to figure out if demolition of those buildings would affect the eligibility, correct?
Yes, I'll follow up with SHPO. And of course, it's important to keep in mind, all of these changes or alterations together, right? So now that we have it, we can go back to them. But I also want to share all of your thoughts with them
Yeah,
as
and
well.
I would comment that the one that you have an incorrect door notation on the plans. Mark, you said on that one, it's not masonite, it's something else.
Oh yeah, it's called out as a fiberglass door. It'll be a
But it's,
solid core masonite painted. It'll look exactly like what was there, a smooth slab door.
yeah, and so before the plans were finalized, that might need to be corrected,
Yep.
and you can
Yep.
mention that to SHPO if that's a concern to them, that's right. So who would like to begin with comments?
I'll start.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is great. You guys are revitalizing the building and giving it some new life. So congratulate you on that. The just kind of some questions. Um, the original, do you guys have a good sense for what the original windows are? Are there any left, or have they all kind of been replaced over time?
I don't
So
think so.
there is no windows that are existing. There is some frames that are existing, and they are steel frames with single pane glass kind of glued in. Very, very old style, yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of what I would expect from that era, like steel casement windows with some
Mhm.
fixed portions. So I saw you, or I think you mentioned you're going to do like aluminum clad wood for the replacements.
Mhm.
Um, but that, I mean, depending on what documentation we have of what was there, I don't, that may not be the best choice. It may be like a casement kind of layout or something. So I don't know. It's tough if there's no windows really to reference for what was there. But
Okay.
um, so yeah, I'd encourage you to find out what you can there, and then maybe consult with Desiree if there's like questions on, a single hung versus a casement is appropriate or what
Oh,
have
as far
you.
as the style of the windows, they are single hung. They slide
Oh, okay.
up and down. Yes. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Gotcha. Okay. Alrighty. Um, cool. Uh, yeah, I think the stone veneer removal is good. I don't really have a strong preference of what you do there as long as it better fits the character of the building. If you find good pictures of like what it looked like originally, if those steel like decorative steel posts were original, that'd be cool to restore that for sure.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think again, if all these little things add up to them saying this takes you off the registry, then we need to say, well, what can we do to, you know, what all can we do so that we stay on the registry, right? And
yeah,
if putting those steel decorative posts back in is one of them, absolutely. Yes.
yeah, yeah, and I mean that's really our only, kind of purview, and my real only concern is that you just maintain the contributing status. Um, and it's, the building's been modified and kind of hacked up and neglected for so many years that, perfectly faithful reconstruction is not possible. So I think if you're doing your best,
Yeah.
that's all you can do. The
Good.
On the roof tile, I would just suggest maybe if you're gonna repaint it all, I would probably go with like a more terracotta color. So it looks.
Okay.
I found it's like some older street view where it wasn't painted. That's probably more appropriate to like the hacienda
Okay.
vibe. Um, and then yeah, the crystal sculpture, I actually it's kind of crazy, but I think it's kind of cool. Um, there's an interesting book and study from the 70s called like Learning from Las Vegas that studies I don't know if you're familiar with it or not. It's a good read, but it talks about kind of two types of like tourist like roadside architecture of like the duck, which is like a building shaped like the thing that it's doing, or a
Mhm.
decorated shed. And most of these motels fall into the decorated shed category. So to
Mhm.
me, like the Crystal is like a, taking that to the max, which I think is kind of cool. It'll definitely bring attention. So,
Yeah,
um,
you'll be able to see it from a long ways away. It's kind of flat
yeah,
around there too.
yeah, no kidding. I saw it in the site plan, and then when you see it in elevation, it's like holy cow, it's like
Yeah, yeah,
four times bigger than you think. So,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah. So anyway, I think that's all the extent of my comments. I would probably retain that like stone. It looks like you are that like low stone wall around the pool area. Um,
Okay.
just like, that kind of I think helps it read of like what that area was for. But yeah, other than that, I think this is great, and I wish you luck on the project.
Yeah,
Thank you, Andrew.
and what I was
Thank
going to
you.
say is that ultimately the sculpture is a reversible construction, but I think it, like you said, and thanks for mentioning that book and sort of the how these things were portrayed to get maximum attention to them. I wanted to ask Commissioner McDonald, do you have to get off at 3 o'clock, Savannah?
I'm close to where I have to be, so I can
You
try
can
another
go next.
15 minutes after 3 is fine.
Yeah, you can go ahead next, and then sorry, Blake, but we'll get to you.
No
Oh,
problem.
Yeah, I just want to be sure everyone gets a chance, and this meeting has gone a little bit longer, but it's okay. Lots to do. Go ahead, Savannah.
okay. Sure. Okay. And I apologize if I missed any of this and it's in the presentation, but the hacienda sign remains, right?
Correct.
And will be
All
rehabbed.
yeah, there's Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's two or three signs that are being restored.
Okay.
And yeah.
Yeah, so we're working with the local sign preservation company to actually do it as faithfully to the original as possible. There are two signs that are the historic neon, and yeah, we're really excited to get those done
Uh,
appropriately. There's a
yeah,
third sign that's not neon and it's not historic either.
Okay.
just
I
curious, who are you working with on those, on the
They
neons?
they're the ones who run the neon museum. I can't
Oh,
remember.
okay,
okay.
got it. They know
Okay.
what they're
Yeah.
doing. Yeah,
They did these
Um,
actually did these previously, so they were excited when I called them. So of
good. Thank you.
course.
Go
I
ahead,
would
Savannah.
say
Sorry.
showing them in your presentation might help, just with the whole approach too.
Okay. We
The
can do that.
windows, it seems like you out of necessity have to infill some of them. None of them are bedroom egress windows, is that right?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
so um the upstairs apartments are just open boxes with a new restroom going in. So their egress would be the front door.
okay, those are the only spaces that are considered residential, this
Correct.
upstairs.
On the
Okay.
two-story building upstairs, there's 4 units, yes.
Okay. I saw on the pool plan that the plan is to stucco over the river rock, and I think we would be sad to see that happen and would
Okay.
rather see that maintained.
Okay.
But my biggest concern with that area is just kind of the overall characteristic of a motel, typically around like a center court, which I like the idea of, reclaiming that for pedestrian use and not vehicles, but I am concerned about the new structure, the new building that blocks it from the street, especially with the appearance of that from the street, and also just, and I get that you want to make it more private, but I have a little hardship with that concealing that important element, that characteristic of the motel from the street side elevation.
Yeah, the
Um,
biggest reason for it was to get rid of street noise.
I
As
get
you know,
that.
Oracle's, yeah.
But I think it does have pretty significant characteristic, change on that
Yeah,
elevation.
yeah.
So I don't know, that's maybe more of a SHPO question, but I'd
Okay.
miss be able to see into that area, even if it wasn't a pool, but it's still, you've nicely maintained it as kind of a focal point, like a gathering space, which I do appreciate.
Okay.
Let's see. The three buildings that are being removed, you said they're all completely fire damaged, like none.
Is Jennifer still on here?
I
Jennifer, you
think she
there?
had to hop off actually.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't see her on here.
So she did a review for us and she recommended that they come down based on
Yeah.
health. They're dilapidated, their health safety hazard issue. Um, they're beyond repair. And even trying to keep the front face of it is just not feasible.
Yeah, understood. So I would say, in terms of like just courtesy review, can we keep it high level? The building that goes in its place should not look like it was original, right? It should be distinctly new. It should be certainly compatible, but it shouldn't look like it was originally there. And my comment there too is it considered an expansion, or does it communicate with building one at all in any way, or is it just stuck up against building one? Because I think the
It's
thing I
just
miss
stuck.
is
Yeah, it does, the roofs connect, but the buildings do not connect.
okay. I think if it is not like an expansion of space, I would recommend keeping that south elevation of building one preserved, right, as a distinct, element. That way the new is even more defined as new versus what was existing, right? Because there's windows and everything on the south elevation of building one that would otherwise be buried.
Let's see. North, south.
If you look at the site plan, right, there was like a 17-foot exterior
Yeah,
space between.
there's like almost like a carport there currently.
There are
Yes.
no windows on that wall.
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah, no windows on that wall. It's correct. There was like a existing carport.
Okay, I see. Yeah, like three windows and a carport.
No,
Um,
no, those are just infills on the inside. They're not connected to the outside.
they're like niches.
Are you talking
Or
about
they,
this right here?
yeah, they were not originally windows,
Yeah, there's spots on the interior side of the wall. They're not windows.
but probably they were, right? Were
Could have
those
been.
were those bedroom units? Were those hotel units originally?
Yeah, they were hotel units. They could have been, yes. What I'm saying is right now, currently, it's actually right now, currently, it doesn't even look like somebody infilled an opening. It's clean stuff, original stucco over the whole wall on
I
the
see.
exterior.
All right. I do appreciate that where you are intentionally infilling windows, you're recessing the infill by a couple inches, create kind of a shadow line.
Yep.
Yeah, I
And that
think
was that
that.
was Desiree's recommendation for us.
Yeah, and are there sills there too? You keep all the
Yeah, the sill.
sills.
Yeah, if there's a sill, it stays. Some of these had sills and some do not. Built originally that way.
Okay. Yeah. As far as Andrew's comments on the windows, I think that's fine too. They do look. Yeah, they're in the inventory form. You can see one of, I assume it is original window on that north building, and it looks like it's maybe a little divided light to it too. So I would, if there's anything you could, it's probably not there anymore, but in the inventory form, there's a picture of it
Okay.
in the Westland report, and it's got like a dark red kind of frame color, nicely compatible with the terracotta tile.
Hmm.
I would look to that, right, when maybe making those window decisions. And then I agree on if you can find photo evidence of the decorative steel posts for the areas that have them, that would be preferred. That would be nice. What else do I have? The entry gates are actually let's just look at the fencing. Which I appreciate your fencing, the fact that you can still see through it, which I think is important. There's a little bit of like the piers and the base, but I think that's fine too. I think that again, as long as it doesn't look original, but it's kind of where the fencing was originally. I would like to see the gates like also being able to see through them. It looks like that big one is
Okay.
transparent or is not transparent. I don't know if that's the idea or just a rendering thing, but I
Yeah,
think it would just be
it's
important to
currently
be able to see all the way through.
yeah, it's currently shown to not be transparent, but that's a great comment, not a problem.
And then actually, since you have it, this parapet detail where it exists, and looking at the historic photos, it looks, is it mason? It's brick masonry. Is that what makes the
Are
detail?
are you asking about what we're currently looking at?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's got a brick cap and then it has vertical bricks
Like a soldier
on the
course.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then another one below it, and then it is just stucco on masonry.
Are you just gonna paint over it though, or is it
Yes, that's the
still
intent. Yes.
okay? I would maybe pick a different color or something than the stucco because it was originally like the masonry color. Just again to call it out, I think it's a neat detail.
Oh, so you mean like a slump block color? Is that like
I mean,
unpainted?
it looks like it was just a brick color, like a terracotta color. The image I'm looking at in the inventory form is so blurry, so it just looks like a warm clay color. But I don't know, just look at that inventory form elevation, I think, and take inspiration
Is
from those
the
original
inventory
colors.
form, is that something that's on the portal?
It is, yes, it's in
Okay.
the Westland report.
Okay.
Jennifer's
Oh,
report.
okay.
Yeah.
Got you. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Got it. Okay.
That's really what I have. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
guys.
Thank you, Savannah. Blake?
Sorry. Real quick note on
yeah.
the River Rock. I'm looking at some historic photos and I'm not seeing River Rock. We only have a few historic photos, and it looks like River Rock is not present on that wall, and there might not even be a wall. It's kind of hard to tell.
Kyle, would we be able to share the postcard? I actually have it up if you want me to. I
Yeah,
don't know if we
please
showed
do.
that in the
Yeah.
presentation, but I think it
Yeah,
could
please
be.
do. Yeah.
Amazing.
Just good for context.
Mm.
Again, you can't see a lot of the detail. Like I tried to see, could we see the posts? I really couldn't tell. My guess is the posts were, more aligned, or if not exactly how they are now, than like a solid pier. But it's hard to tell like the actual building. But I think this provides a good photo of like the pool area, and yet the river rock was not there.
Oh yeah, that's a good. It looks like, wow, that is kind of weird. It looks like they had a stucco wall and now it's river rock.
Yeah. I missed this photo. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was looking at Weston's report. Photo number 1 shows the river rock wall. But yeah,
So
it
based on
must have been done later.
well, yeah, so based on this postcard image, does that kind of change your view on the rock wall or not? As far as
Yeah, I mean, I
basically
guess,
we were gonna
yeah.
we were gonna smash mortar in there and then stucco it and make it, just a painted stucco wall.
But you're gonna leave it? If you're gonna leave it, I would leave it at its natural finish.
Okay. Well,
But
and so
I think you do
further.
have, if you had to remove it, I think you have with this photo, with this postcard, maybe
Okay.
some justification.
Okay.
All righty.
Thank you, Savannah.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Okay, Blake?
Okay. Starting off, I want to commend all of the folks involved in this project for taking on the rehabilitation of this project. I think it's really important that you guys are doing this work, and I see and appreciate um your passion and the desire to keep the general feeling of the motel as true to its historic forms as possible. I think the in setting the windows, understandable, completely reasonable, and I'm grateful that Desiree brought that up, so that we still have that form. Going back to what Desiree said at the beginning, right, we're trying to think about this in terms of whether or not everything is adding up to preserving the integrity um, of this site, right, as a whole. And this is really where I have a hard time separating the landscape architect from the historic preservation brain, right? There's two halves of the same brain. Because as the landscape architect, I see that you're trying to do some really cool things, right? As the landscape architect, I also am aware that once you step outside of a building, you're immediately stepping into the landscape. And whether or not there are historic landscape elements to this site, I'm unsure of. I don't think that there are. And it definitely sounds like doing the pool infill is fairly common. I don't really have a problem with that. What I am interested in is those seven factors of integrity that Desiree brought up. Location, right off the bat, you guys obviously aren't moving the motel anywhere. It's staying put for the most part. I think you talked about materials, trying to get as close to the materials as you can, and I think that's great. And I think that the workmanship kind of comes in there where you discussed the columns outside and whether they should be the wrought iron or whether they should be the pillar, and you have demonstrated an interest in ensuring that those are true to the original. I think that once we get into thinking about this space as part of the urban landscape, I think that potentially replacing those three buildings at the back of the property with one building might deteriorate the integrity some, that we're completely changing the flow of the space through and around those buildings. I think that the feeling in that space might also be interrupted and at risk for preserving the integrity. And then there's a balance between seeing the sculpture element, because the designer in me thinks that's really cool. And it was not lost on me that Andrew also mentioned Vegas, because one of the thoughts I had when I looked at the series of renderings that were provided to us was, when did we go from Tucson to being historic preservation experts in Las Vegas? Because it really does stand out, and it's really cool from the design perspective. Switching over to the heritage conservation perspective, I think that I'm going to quote you, Kyle, or at least maybe out of context a little bit, and that the sculpture element goes too far, because it does, we're thinking about view sheds, and we have to think about I mean, this is obviously not something that is part of the historic um uh historic feeling of that neighborhood, right? Um and so we kind of have to we have to balance that, because at 52 and a half feet tall, that thing is massive. And I think somebody else said that you'd be able to see it uh for miles, right?
Yeah.
um and I think about how, when in the early colonial days, when we were building new villages, right, the church would go in, and it is, the tallest building around for exactly that purpose. um and I hesitate, um only because I don't know that it has a place um in that area. But this is a courtesy review, and I am, trying to give feedback instead of criticism. Um,
What do you think
so
about if the scale came down a little bit? Or it's still the same thought, I would assume.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, and the hard part is that like half of me thinks it's really cool,
Yeah.
and the other
Understood.
half is just like, this is massive. So I'm conflicted, right? Um, but I think that Desiree has a point in the all of these things adding up to, when it goes
Mhm.
back to Shippo, does Shippo say yes or no? And if it were my choice, I would be leaning towards no, even
Okay.
though you've gone out of your way to do all of the materials and the workmanship, um, on the other buildings. This
Yeah,
is a
and
hard
our and
project. This is a hard project.
our goal is to, take the ideas that the client has and obviously present them
Mhm.
historically to see what we can and cannot get away with. I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of where we're at.
Blake, let me ask you a question, and I appreciate your feedback a lot. What's our downside? Because we realize we can push forward with this in our design package as it goes to SHPO. Is there a downside to us? And I think Mark may agree with me on this. What's our downside to going ahead and leaving it in our package and letting it get on SHPO's radar to review and see how the chips fall? Are we taking too many steps backwards by doing that? Or
I would need to know
maybe
more about what Shippo's
Desiree could
process
answer.
is. My
Maybe
my my gut is that, it's always better to include something and see what the reviewer, as a practicing landscape designer working for a landscape architect, right? It's always better to put the thing on the plan even when you're in doubt, and let the reviewers make a decision. Let the ultimate decision holder, right, decide.
well, let me ask
Um
this question. Desiree, are you still on the call?
Yes.
Maybe I missed it earlier. I know I heard you bring up SHPO in part of
Hmm.
your presentation. Did you have any conversation with SHPO or share this design yet with them, um, to where you got any feedback from them on this specific signage issue, or no?
Yes, so I did share the sculpture, the renderings that had come through because there was a pre-application meeting that, was held and for that specific feature. So Shippo, their take was that as long as the integrity of the building on which it sits, is not going to be compromised, that they don't think that alone right, would impact the eligibility of the property as far as
Okay.
its listing. But
This
I will say, I mean, there have been other concerns with or questions, I think, in the pre-application meeting that staff asked, if what if the sculpture was put on the ground, right? Would that help, kind of lower maybe some of the impacts or some of the concerns that Blake brought up. So I am curious to hear maybe from the applicant and from the commissioners, like their take on this, because this is really the biggest kind of visual impact, right? Overall, like the sculpture, we are interested to hear. And I think Shippo, while they said that, they did have the caveat that, that's without an opinion without any local feedback, right? That other stakeholders may have input. And so that's part of the point of this meeting as well, right? Is to get that local input.
Well, so our Mark, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but was there any consideration on your part? I get it, the impact of where the sign shows currently, and its vertical impact, and its street, its impact for people on, northbound, southbound Oracle traffic. It's obvious, but was there any thought that putting it on, stabilizing it on the ground with some sort of, cool base at a strategic location, was that ever considered? Or, and I'm not asking you to give away what you want, was that something that you guys would consider at this point? Or would you prefer to push forward and see how it moves through the process? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we're open. Obviously, we prefer to do it on the roof, but if it's just not going to happen and there's nothing that can be done to do it on the roof, then I mean, we're open, right? But that being said, I don't want to just open that door and then that becomes the default. But it's yeah, I don't know. I guess to address some of the concerns that have been brought up, I get it, and I appreciate everybody's involvement and what you shared. I know this has been a really long call, so thank you for sticking it through with us. I think I would just want to, have it be present in the conversation that this was, I think it was a condemned building. It was slated to be bulldozed or something, and we're just doing our best to try to make it nice again. There are probably going to be some things that are a little unusual that we want to do. Just grateful for everyone's collaboration on finding ways that we can make it work, because I think it only really works under, it only really works the way that Gene and Kyle have described it. Otherwise, I just don't want to see the building, have the same fate as a lot of the other buildings in Tucson.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Certainly.
Any final comments? But you've got all those down, Desiree, I'm sure. And how soon do you anticipate, Desiree, going to SHPO with this?
Probably very soon. We'll reach out to them.
Well, sounds good. Okay, well, good luck with the project. We're excited to hear what happens with it, but thanks for all the effort, because it will surely be an improvement.
We appreciate the mostly, positive feedback you've given us. It makes us feel good because we put a lot of time into this. There's been a lot of effort by our entire team and Lisa, and we appreciate your feedback a lot.
Great. Okay, well, good luck, and I'm sure we'll hear more about the project.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Take care, everybody. Have a good day.
Good work, Kyle. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 5C, which is section 106, invitation to comment as a consulting party at 9861 North Shannon. This is a property in the county, and I just want to bring to commissioners' attention that we don't often get section 106 requests like this. And for some reason, Terracon, who is another cultural resource firm that is sending this out on behalf of Verizon Wireless, was considering us a stakeholder, an interested party. And I think that Desiree, Ian, Milliken, and I agreed to meet later, but I think that the best thing to do is that we don't have, Ian was unable to stay on because he had a meeting from 2 onwards during the day, but he was on for the first hour of the meeting. And I said, we're never going to get to it by the time you have to go. So I would just suggest that we defer to Ian's office to analyze this, and they're going to know if this tower affects anything in the APE and so forth. So if you're okay, I will, we can let Ian know that we're not moving, there's no motion on this. It's a courtesy review. And, if you have thoughts on how, I would like to ask the city and the county, because they do dozens and dozens of these reviews every month to, cumulatively. So it would be helpful, to know that if they saw something that required us to weigh in on, that they would do so. I mean, that's why they have their staff, and we can't add one more thing to them. I think they would know if there was something we needed to do, and to weigh in on. So do you all agree with that? Because
Yeah,
I don't
I
feel
do,
like I have
Terry.
information. And I'm happy, Desiree, to respond on behalf of the commission to Terracon and say we deferred to the county on this. Does that work for you?
Yes.
Yes, and then Ian requested that he meet with Desiree and I, because I want to reassure them that we're not trying to take over their Section 106 duties or anything like that, but that they would know if there was something that they wanted our feedback on. Just like with, National Register nominations that come before the city and the county, they request our review, and that goes to SHPO as part of the Historic Sites Review Committee review. So, we are consulted in a sense, but it's through someone else because the process can be cumbersome. Not cumbersome, but just they have a lot to do. So if you're okay with that, that's how we can handle 5C. And let's see, let me see something here. If Savannah said when she got off, did you see that?
Yes,
Yeah,
she did at
318,
3:18.
yeah.
At 3:18, Savannah left. Okay. But I did ask her if she could do that meeting, so I will get to that in a minute. So, okay, thank you on that. Item 6 is current issues for information discussion. 6A, minor reviews.
I don't have any updates for minor reviews. Jason and Michael usually handle those. I don't think we don't have any that are pending right now, or at least ready for the committees to review at this point.
Okay. 6B, appeals.
No appeals to report.
6C, zoning violations. You're just working them.
We're working on them. There are several out there. Yeah, I don't have any specific items to report today.
Yeah, and they'll come to us when they're ready. So, item 6D is review process issues. Desiree, do you have any comments, or commissioners, do you have any review process issues?
I don't have any comments for this meeting. I think it's been a long meeting, and there are different
Yeah.
things we're working on, like website updates and things like that. But well, I guess I will say we added a page to our website on demolition reviews. Because right now there is no there or before there was no page on that. You kind of had to dig in the FAQs to find anything about demolition reviews. So we wanted to make that much more clear, and it's more comprehensive. So that is up on
Oh, that's
the
great.
website.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you on that. Other commissioners, do you have anything? I would
no,
still like to go ahead. Who's that? Blake?
Oh no, I
Andrew?
said no.
Oh,
Sorry.
no. Okay. I still would like to see us have some sort of form that participants in the meeting have to fill out to say who they are. I mean, is there any way we could do a Google sheet and have that for the meeting? Or, I mean, it's normally not as bad as it was today. But
Yeah, there were a lot of people today.
yeah,
So like
and
email, address, that kind of thing, or just name and affiliation.
name and affiliation, but presumably you have contacts for all of the projects, right?
The
But I
applicants.
mean, it just to be accurate on the minutes, the LAR, we really should capture that and stuff. So we can talk about that. I mean, if it's
Okay.
not a huge meeting, I can manage it without my blood pressure going up too much. Um, I'm only half kidding. All right. If there's nothing else in review process, we'll move to item 7, future agenda items. Next meeting is the 28th. Desiree said that their boss said that they have to go to a meeting on the 28th, so they're not available. But could all of you meet on the 4th, which is the following Thursday? And Savannah said she could.
Yeah, I can too, Terry.
And how about you, Andrew? You looking?
Yeah, I think that works for me.
Okay. And the reason I ask is because I'm going to be away from home, but I'll be with my daughter and family in upstate New York because the Twins have a baseball tournament for a whole week. So, but I
Nice.
will probably be ready to go back to the VRBO and say, oh, I have a meeting. So I will definitely be on. But in case something happens, which I can't anticipate, it's a big deal. They're playing at Cooperstown for a week, so it's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. So what do you have for us on the 4th if we meet that day?
Yes, so 714 North Euclid, which is the parking lot, that would be a rezoning, formerly known as the Euclid Hotel. Currently it's vacant, so you all saw that as a courtesy review. That is coming through now as an actual review. There are 2 other full reviews that are kind of TBD, but we do have them as potential. Some other items that are on the list. Again, it may come to you the 4th or the following meeting, but there's a historic landmark nomination for the Bondante House, submitted by Tucson Historic Preservation Foundation. There are a couple items on the HSRC, the Historic Sites Review Committee, that were sent to us from SHPO. And that would be ahead of their July 10th meeting. So you probably won't see those until maybe the second meeting in June. But yeah, those are some of the items currently in the queue for you all.
Okay. Well, I'll look forward to your suggested items, Desiree, and we can work on moving things along. So anyway, thank you everyone for your great patience. It was a long meeting. I wouldn't mind talking about, if the first review is just very complicated, or maybe it's just very complicated.
Inexperienced presenter.
Yeah, and I know that, Desiree, you're working on things to help applicants have a more structured presentation, but we can deal with it. We can also move them along. So, and thanks for your comments on the Desiree to get us moving. So,
yeah.
Okay.
And if I could just say real quick, so like my previous experience, usually it's staff that gives the presentations, not applicants. Applicants will kind of supplement with providing questions or providing, additional details. And here we always let the applicants present. And sometimes when they're an architect, that makes a ton of sense. Obviously they're very equipped to do that. When it comes to homeowners, that's when we get, have the difficulty. Sometimes I feel like, is it really fair to expect a homeowner to present? But it's just some food for thought, but that is an option we could start to look at for, just something we can start to look at. And then I forgot there was something else I was gonna say. Now it's spacing out.
But if you had to restructure their presentations, that would make a whole lot of extra work for you, depending. I mean, that's something we can.
I think that's probably why we haven't done it, right? Because staffing has been pretty small here. So it's, that's
that's something to consider, and maybe trying with people that, that could still be there, certainly to present. So, because it gets very frustrating for us to do a good job when we can't. I mean, there was so much information and back and forth and so on. So, but anyway, that being said, now we're adjourning at 3:28. So I'll watch for your LAR/minutes, and I'll get those back to you as quickly as I can. That's right. So I've got everyone down saying they can do the 4th. So thanks everyone. Take care. Bye.